Come find out everything you need to know about the Blood Angels in one video.
Spiky bits.
What's up, hobby maniacs? I'm Baer, and I am super excited to talk to you guys today about the new Blood Angels book. I am not super excited to be a Grey Knights player, because man, this book poops all over the Grey Knight Codex. I don't even know. It's like a different world. It's like almost a different edition almost. I'm sad to be a Grey Knights player, but I'm super happy to be a Blood Angels player because this book way better than a Grey Knights book, and it hopefully sets a great precedent for going forward and the other chapters that are special that we've seen in past with their own book. Like obviously Dark Angels, Space Wolves, Death Watch. There's a lot of options out there. There could be could be some more stuff out there. We don't know yet, but lots more definitely to come on the Codex side of things in 2018, where Demons is on the horizon. So first up, we got the data cards, $15 set from Games Workshop. We're not going to talk too much about those because everybody pretty much knows what they are at this point. You're going to get your 25 or 28 stratagems. I thought there was 25 in here, but oh right, because the normal 3 ones. So there is 25 plus your normal 3, 6 psychic powers plus of course smite. As well as your independent objective cards in here too. So it's not too crazy of a set, but all the content in here. What I do like about it is this really cool cream color right here that I think is personally pretty neat and a very nice touch, something different. They didn't have to do that, but they're kind of stepping it up a notch. And then it's got great little clip art here, the typical chalice motif and blood drops and everything all around. I think this is really cool. And from what we've seen so far from this book, stratagems are definitely going to come into play for these guys here, because you're going to want those stratagems, you're going to want those points to do all sorts of different things. So a little bit of bookkeeping first for the book, of course. This is a $40 codex from Games Workshop. It is a roughly 110 page, I think it was, no, 131 pages in this bad boy right here. Mine kind of creaks a little bit. I don't know if you're hearing that, but it's been a little bit of bugging me, like the binding's a little creaky. Not too big of a deal, but it's something you want to be aware of in case it starts to separate. Games Workshop definitely, I've had them replace these books before, so don't worry about that. But if you ever have a problem, don't hesitate to call them up. Overall, it's got 77 data sheets in here, all of the extra accessories or features in here on the origin of them, their timeline, their heraldry, their bestiary, where it talks about the units themselves. Then it gets into the data sheets themselves and all special rules from stratagems, warlord traits, relics, the disciplines, the tactical objectives if you play that way, and then of course their points values, which one of the things we talked about on the podcast was that even if they had just given us a little pull-out insert, and we know they can do it because we saw it with Necromunda, just give us a double-sided insert, it might not be, because this is a lot of point values here, of course, so maybe it would have to be 2, or maybe it could be a fold-out points insert with some sort of graphic on the back. Either way, it could definitely be something that is doable, and you could just have as a companion to here. And then if the points ever get updated, you could just download it and glue it back on to over top of whatever feature or whatever material they have. And then eventually at the end of the day, they could put out even yearly or twice a year the most recent updates along to coincide with Chapter Approved. Chapter Approved comes out, the Chapter Approved accessory pack comes out with all of these cardstock features that have been updated points value wise. So you just pick them up, and yeah, there might not be a Grey Knight one or something, or there might be Grey Knights and you don't play Grey Knights, but hey, your bud plays Grey Knights, so whatever, you guys put in for the $20, $25 pack, he gives you a couple bucks or buys you a beer, you're good to go. Y'all got updated rules, and it doesn't hurt anybody because it's just the point, right? And having that insert, and I'm going long-winded here, I haven't even gotten into the book, I apologize for that, folks, but having that insert to look at the data sheets and be like, oh, okay, cool, how much is Sanguinis? Oh, he didn't change. That's cool to see. And then you flip and you're just kind of flipping, or even making your army list, that would be a lot better instead of just being you know, relegated to how we're making our armies here now. So overall, I think it's a great book. I think it's laid out well. I think there's a lot of features in here that which we're about to jump into, and I think there's a lot of different ways to play the new Blood Angels. We are probably going to talk more on the competitive side than the narrative side, per the norm. So I apologize for that. Some folks out there might be like, but I love that guy, or I love playing that guy, and that's not exactly what we're going to talk about today. So Angelic Host, this is going to be, hey, these are the Blood Angels. They live on Ball. Stuff's happening. New fluff updated. You know, with the Indominus Crusade and all that stuff, and then you're gonna get to the timeline and see all the stuff, and then the individual heraldries and stories of each individual character or each individual character type to Death Company and such. Part of the overall theme, I guess, of this book is, you know, black is the new red, because Death Company really haven't played a significant part of any Blood Angels army since I would go back and say since 2nd edition. The Army of Death, or even 3rd edition. The Army of Death was something to be feared on the tabletop, which you could literally just field all Death Company if you wanted to. But you know, it would be pretty brutal. It was a thing back in the day, and we haven't really seen anything like it since. However, now we might be getting a little bit more bonus to playing with more Death Company. So, black might definitely be the new red here. They also have the Primaris models. There's access to new Primaris and such. They didn't get access to other things though that you would expect. So they got some stuff, they didn't get some stuff. But remember, these guys are kind of the ones holding on to some of the technology for themselves as well. So it kind of makes sense, I suppose, in a way, how it all kind of panned out fluff-wise. A couple of special rules here that are going to be worth knowing is the Black Rage, which allows you to get +1 attack, and a 6-up ignore wound mechanic, which is really good in this edition. Of course, they should know no fear, and it's talking about the successor chapters and things like that. Overall, you're going to see that for the most part, Death Company are hugely strong. There's a lot of characters in here that are super strong. No characters changed points value wise. But here's the thing that you're going to notice is Commander Dante, while he used to be a G, and he certainly has good stat lines right now, probably is not worth his points values when there's other characters in the Blood Angels that do pretty much the same thing. Like, he doesn't give you command points or anything like that like he should. He is also a tactical genius, believe it or not. So Commander Dante, and here's the old points values out of the index, is still 215. Just not worth it when you can get some of these other guys that do very similar things. Even Chapter Master Gabriel Seth benefits Flesh Terrors. Now that doesn't compare to Blood Angels specifically right there, but you can take Primaris. Where are the captains? Here we go. You can take other units that aren't 215 points to give you those rerolls to 1. So it's just like it's kind of disappointing. So his Chapter Master, or his ability to reroll failed hit rolls for friendly Blood Angels within 6 is good, but I don't think it's worth a 215 point tax. And then he really doesn't do anything else besides have a really good invulnerable save, and you know, he has the Death Mask ability, and you can extend that out. But I think overall what you're going to see is more of some of the other guys, like the Sanguinor. Super good, add +1 attack. You know, his points value is 170, hasn't changed. Mephiston is obviously good at 145 with the Sanguine Wings, which we're going to talk about. You know, just flying across the tabletop because it affects Psyker. Just doing his thing. Like, he is super, super good. The Sanguinary Priest still has some Narthesium. I think he can have the option to take a jump pack, I believe, now, if that is the case. And Korbulu can now reroll a single die once per turn. There's Mephiston, so he is going to be able to add +1 to deny the Witch. Still the same points cost at 145. Can cast 2. Librarian Dreadknot is probably one of the big winners. He's going to clock in at 172 points, I believe. But the key about him is that he has 8 wounds, and he is a character, so he's not targetable. He can be flying across the tabletop using the Sanguine wings as well, and, you know, charging into combat very quickly. Maybe not first turn, but definitely has the potential, depending on what you play on him. Now, I know there is the Forlorn Relic. I forget the exact wording of it, which were, I guess I could grab it out of here, but let's read that one real quick, because that's going to be one of the ones that you guys want to know. This only works on Death Company infantry, so that is going to work on your Death Company. So that's not going to benefit your librarians, but they are going to be able to move fast across the tabletop using the Sanguine wings and not be targetable if there's units in front of them or closer units, because they are 8 wounds right there. Librarian, Primaris Librarian, more librarians. Astaroth is definitely worth mentioning, because he has this ability called Massive Doom. So once per battle at the start of your movement phase, you can chant this and add 1 to all hit rolls. So once you get perhaps those Death Company in, which you're about to see, we're about to talk about that a little bit, then you would have +1 to hit rolls, probably re-rolling hit rolls depending on what bubble you have from what commander, and perhaps being +1 to wound. For the most part, I would imagine you will be. So that could stack up pretty quick. Now, Lamarte's is also worth talking about, because you can reroll failed charge rolls and failed hit rolls in the fight phase for friendly Death Company units within 6. So we're about to show you some crazy Death Company tactics or ideas here in a sec. So remember that one. Rerolling failed charge rolls. Very good. Chaplain Terminator Armor, Primaris Chaplain, Tycho the Lost. And there's your Captain. And he's going to allow you to reroll hit rolls of 1 for friendly Blood Angel units. So you could take any form of Captain here and be able to do that. Or, again, you could take Dante, 215, reroll everything. Not sure it's worth it. And Sanguinary also can charge even if he's fallen back in the preceding movement phase. So that's very cool to see. Not a lot of characters out there can do that. So let's jump ahead through here. Now there's, you know, like I said, there is some new units in here, like Stormhawk, Storm Talon, I believe. Sanguinary Ancient is separate himself. One of those cool deals right there. Death Company, incredibly well pointed, able to swap out their bolt pistols for any of these associated weapons right here. Of course, paying their points cost. We're going to talk about Inferno Pistol went down from 20 points to 9. The Sanguinary Guard also had their Angelus Bolter. I think it went down from 9 to 6. I want to say, yep, from 9 to 6 points. Scout Squad is actually good now. Great troop choice. If you're trying to take a lot of troops because you're trying to build up these points, and you're about to see why, Scout Squads might be a great choice, because they are going to have the ability to be +1, the Red Thirst ability. You can be +1 to charging, or +1 to wound on the charge. So at 11 points each, probably very easy to slot in 55 points for a troop squad here. And they can do a lot of work, because at strength 4, normally needing, you know, 4s to wound toughness 4, you're going to need 3s now. To wound toughness 3 stuff, well, you're going to be even easier. And to wound toughness 5 or higher, up till double, well, you're just going to be +1. That's an incredible benefit just for being a Blood Angel. It's pretty crazy, and being Battle Forged, of course. Sanguinary Ancient has the banner here. Now there is a relic that he'll be able to switch out that I think is probably pretty good. Death Company Dreadnought unfortunately doesn't have the character ability, so it can get shot on its way in. Lots more units in here. Furioso Dreadknot, they changed the Blood Talons to being +4, -2, AP 3 damage straight, reroll all failed to hit and wound rolls for this weapon. So only 4 attacks, but at 230 points with a Stormbolter and a Meltagun, you can see where you can get some of these on the table pretty easily. However, again, only 8 wounds, but not a character, so can be targeted. You need to have a vehicle threat rich environment just taking one of these guys, probably not going to make it across the table. Don't make that mistake. Assault squads are still good. They are. But they are not troops. They are still fast attack. So you'd have to take the detachment to get maximum benefit out of taking assault squads. But we're about to show you a stratagem that definitely helps those guys right there do the Lord's work on the tabletop. So let's get back to some special rules here in the back that you need to know about. So first off, if you're battle forged, if you have, you know, a Blood Angels detachment by either their keyword or one of their successor chapter keywords, you get the Red Thirst ability, which is +1, 2 wound rolls in the fight phase, which is incredible. It's an incredible force multiplier that we haven't seen the likes of in a while, and I think it's definitely going to show up on the tabletop, whether it's a true Blood Angels army or even Guilliman Gunline with anti or counter assault or even Alpha Strike assaulting element of these guys. Perhaps, you know, even Guard doing the same thing. I could definitely see it. Stratagem wise, there is 25 plus a normal 3. The ones you should probably be aware of right off the bat is, well, one is Death Visions and Sanguinis, and that's where you can't play it on named characters and Primaris and stuff like that. They gain the Death Company keyword and the Black Rage ability. And remember, Black Rage is going to give you that 6-up Feel No Pain type ability, and also an additional attack, which is pretty crazy. But remember too, you've got reroll charge distances for Lamartes if you're within 6. So there's other ways to combo it as well. Forlorn Fury is probably something you're going to see a lot of for 2 command points. You can immediately move one of your Death Company infantry units and can even advance as if it were your movement phase. You can only use this stratagem once. So that being said, you're going to take your big block of Death Company probably for 390 points. They're 17 points each times 15 plus 9 points each for an Infernus pistol. Whew, so good. 390, you get to move them before the game starts and advance them before the game starts. Then you get to move them again and probably assault 2d6 as well. If you're within range of Lamartes, reroll charge distances. It's an amazing combo right there. Now you can have some stuff in reserve, just your normal deep striking assault squads or something like that. Sanguinary Guard, if you want to go with them. They are a little pricey, but there's some combos to be had there as well. Drop them in and we'll just fast forward to it upon, or excuse me, Descent of Angels. Whenever you use the stratagem before making a charge roll with Blood Angels jump pack unit from your army that was set up on the battlefield earlier this turn, roll 3d6 and determine the unit's range instead of 2d6. So 3d6 is a great multiplier to get you there, because remember, you have to set them up more than 9 inches away. You're going to need that benefit. So if you're dropping units in, you play this on them. So you've got one rampaging Death Company coming across. You've got a deep striking squad coming in, a nice big juicy one. It's all they have to have is Blood Angels jump pack. It could be Sanguinary Guard, it could be standard duders, whatever you want right there. In the backfield, you can jump either at this point when you're going up against the enemy, if you're doing an alpha strike. But one of the big tenets of 40k right now is to be a beta strike. If everything you have works good, even if you go second, chances are you have the tools or the keys to succeed in competitive 40k play. And this helps both offensively and in the beta, because you can just straight pick up Blood Angels unit up, and theoretically, rules is written here, you could do this before you're eligible to fall back out of combat. If you fall back, your options are limited, but I think rules is written. Obviously, they may come out with an FAQ. Folks may dispute this. You know, I'm not saying it's 100%, but if you take the fallback rule and you compare it to this, the wording seems to say that you could play this, you could Wings of Fire out of assault, land, and then assault again, because you didn't technically fall back. May not be the case, but it's something to consider and something that you might see on the tabletop in your near future there. What else we got that's definitely worth talking about? Strike of the Archangels is interesting because you can land some Blood Angels and then reroll failed to hits. 50-50. I don't know if there's enough tact or enough tactical output for that to be actually good. Lucifer pattern engines, there might be some play here for going even faster with a Ball Predator or something like that. I personally don't see it quite yet, but hey, it might be a thing. If you take 3 of those ball predators, that's certainly a thing. Definitely. You just don't want those up in your grill, even if you can just do one of them. Shoot. What else do we have that is good? Descent of Angels we talked about. Hellfire Shells is really interesting. Use this stratagem just before Blood Angel's infantry attacks with a heavy bolter. You may make a single hit roll with the weapon this phase. However, if it hits, target suffers a D3 mortal wounds. So it's a 1 kill point kind of gimme that if you just need to like knock that last point or 2 off of something, hey, remember you have this. Flak missiles, also really cool. There's a lot of flyers out there that, especially now with the points reduction of the Fire Raptor, might be worth consideration here. Again, you don't even have to take it in your army. You just have to have the kill point or the command points available. You can add additional attacks here for the Red Rampage for a character, of course. And use the stratagem when a Blood Angel's character from your army is slain. You get 1 final attack as if you were a fight or shooting phase. So it's like the banner ability, but as a stratagem. Warlord Traits. There's some stuff here. There's definitely some stuff, some play here. Speed of the Primarch, Artisan of War, Soul Warden, Selfless Valor, Gift of Foresight. I feel like that one's a pretty good one. And Heroic Bearing. Gift of Foresight, I think is probably one you might want to take a look at. It allows you to, when you lose a wound, you can reroll rolls of 1. And on a 6/6 ignored, if you have the Black Rage ability, which if you're a Death Company, you probably do, you can instead ignore wound rolls on a 5 or 6, also rerolling rolls of 1, but it doesn't stack with Black Rage. Now remember, you can give a character, besides Dante and named characters, Black Rage through the use of a stratagem. So that's something to definitely kind of keep in mind. Over here, you got the Relics of Baal, and you know what? Normally, there's like, you get a couple pages of relics, and you're kind of like, I might take some of those, I might not. But these, it's actually kind of like questionable, depending on your build, which one you would take. They're all very good. I think overall in the competitive scene, we're going to see a lot of people taking Angel's Wing, which is jump pack models only. You can reroll failed charge rolls for a model equipped with the Angel's Wing, and your opponent cannot fire Overwatch against them. That's 2 of the best things out there. There is so many things that if they get a chance to Overwatch on you, you're just going to get picked up, especially on a character with only 5 wounds. Now you're telling me this character that not only can, be equipped, it's if it's a jump pack model only. You replace it. You replace that jump pack, so you can have jump pack assault. You can be dropping in. You can be, now you're rerolling your charge distance. You're 9 inches away of rerolling. That's a huge benefit. And the thing you're charging cannot overwatch you. That's huge. That's amazing. Great combo for any model out there, any character model that can do damage to anything out there. I think this one, you should start here, depending on how you're building your army. Start here and either skip it or go to something else. Hammer of Baal is a thunder hammer that does not have a reduction in or neg1 to hit. It's not unwieldy basically, so you're just swinging in normal. Times 2 strength, neg 3 AP, 3 damage, doing the Lord's work. The Veritas Vitae, if you can somehow fit this into your list, remember you can play 1 strategy point to either, well, you get one of these for free, you can pay 1 to get another one, you can pay 3 to get 2 in your army. So it kind of scales up weird, but that's just the way it's always been. To get these, if your army is Battleforged and the Baer is on the battlefield, roll a d6 each time you use the stratagem. On 5 up, you gain a command point. So if you're only taking 7 command points or something, this might not work that well. But if you're trying to build a large command point army to take benefit of all of those amazing stratagems, that the stuff, being able to pick up your models and move them to the other side of the table for the most part at any point in the game really means that you need to be banking, or you need to have a high volume of command points at your disposal to gain the most benefit there. This might help if you're on the long haul. If you're on like a 10 command point kind of build, I could see taking this. Gallon Staff, kind of whatever. Maybe you take it. Archangel Shard, also another kind of one of those. Standard of Sacrifice, depending on what build you're running. Again, this isn't going to work with Death Company. It's only Blood Angel Infantry or Blood Angel Bikers, but it's going to give you a 5 up Feel No Pain. Doesn't stack or doesn't even function with Black Rage models. So not working with Death Company, but working with everything else. Your Sanguinary Guard, your normal jump troops, anything, you know, coming out of a Storm Raven, ground pounders, stuff like that, bikers. And bikers are not meant to be overlooked either, folks. I think it's around, for a plasma gun platform, for right around 122, I think it is. Definitely not to be overlooked, especially when you can reroll ones. Again, don't take shots against stuff that's neg one. That might function badly with your plans there, because the way the modifiers work to hit, but it's something to be aware of. And let me just stop right there real quick. Talk about fluff for a second. These are all things like special rules, stratagems, you know, Descent of Angels, some of these sanguinary disciplines. This is all stuff we saw back in the day, whether it was a previous edition all the way back to 2nd edition 40k. The fluff and the feel, the total immersion into the Blood Angels kind of lore and history and background, and bringing back, if you're a veteran player, bringing back all these memories of these things, and they work basically the same that they used to. They work very similar. It's not like a new version that's completely different from the way it worked before with the same name, and you're just like, that used to be so much better. Now it pretty much does the same thing, but maybe a little bit better or a little bit worse. At least your mind is making these connections, these synapses are firing in your head, and you're like, man, that was awesome. I remember that back in the day. This is dope. And this is dope. This is some cool stuff right here. We've seen Quickening, we've seen Unleash Rage, we've seen Shield of Sanguinius, we've seen Blood Bowl, we've seen Blood Lance, and we've seen Wings of Sanguinius. All of these things work pretty much the same way they used to. And that's really cool to see for me. Descent of Angels, all of these things. Very cool, work pretty much the same way that they used to. Wings of Sanguinius affects the Psyker. The Psyker can move 12 inches, gains fly, only a warp charge value of 5. I think it's a very, very cool ability. Unleash Rage is really cool. Quickening is cool. Blood Lance is cool. They're all usable. They're all usable and definitely something to be aware of. And then we get to the points values, and that's where there's some winners and there's some losers. Like I said, a lot of the characters here, you can kind of compare things a little bit here. There's not a whole lot of, this was the old index points. You can compare those if you wanted to for a second and pause the video, but for the most part, not a lot has changed. War gear wise, well, Death Company did not change. All named characters did not change. I think the Librarian went down a couple points. Tech Marine went down points. Ball Predator went down points slightly. Storm Raven gunships went up. We knew about that. That was in chapter approved. Vindicator, Whirlwind all went down points. Sanguinary Guard, they adjusted a power level. I don't know, whatever. They dropped 2 points, but maybe more importantly, their Angelus Bolters went from 9 to 6, so down 5 points total on the day right there overall. Infernus Pistols, like I said, went from 20 to 9. The Angelus Bolter. Blood Talons didn't get a points reduction, but they did change for the Furioso Dreadknot. And they got Cataphractii Terminators now, Tartaros Terminators, the what was it, the Stormhawk, I believe, the Storm Talon. They did not get some stuff though. Yeah, Storm Talon and Storm Hawk. Yep, they got that. They got the Primaris stuff now as well, which is really, really cool to see. There's fluff in here and story behind all that things. Is there anything else they need to talk about? Assault Marines are not troops. They're still a fast attack, not like the 5th edition days, unfortunately. Oh, they got Contemptors. Yep, that's true too. I'm just kind of running down things in my mind. So overall, I think you could make a pretty decent competitive list that would consist of at least one big block of Death Company with jump packs. Maybe you definitely want to splash in, maybe take a Supreme Command, but I think overall you're probably going to want to take like 2 battalions. Get those cheap troops. You could even take cheap troops, so you can pull the points off of like a super cheap guard kind of battalion and get those 3 command points. I mean, you can get right around 200 points for a cheap guard, company commander and a couple of platoons of guys. Super easy to do. Or I guess you can throw a Primaris Psych or somebody in there around the 40 point level. get out really cheap, around 200. That way you can afford some special characters and things. Pick up a battalion with some fast attack, with some of the scout troops, definitely with Death Company. Maybe your compulsory 2 HQs, you could switch over to a Supreme Command. But man, let me tell you what, Corbu's worth taking. Lamarte's is definitely worth taking if you're doing Death Company. Librarian Dreadnought, I mean, this is a force to be reckoned with right here. Now, granted, you can only cast Wings of Sanguinis once to try to get across the table with these, but even if you don't get across the table, as long as there's something closer, this cannot be targeted. And he can cast 2 psychic powers per turn, which is pretty strong. For 172 as equipped, and the only other thing that you could change is a Melta for a heavy flamer. So I think overall this is a huge winner right here. Mephiston, O is a G, does what Mephiston does. You know, anybody can get got if you leave him out in the open, but you know, just be aware of that. Some of the Primaris might be worth it on Ancient with that standard there that allows you to get the 5/6 feel no pain. Remember, scouts or somebody, or just jump troops running across the table, benefiting from a 5/6 feel no pain, screening a couple of Librarian Dreadnoughts. One jumps in, but the whole time you're dropping in with Death Company, you're dropping in with that multi-layered thing, or you're dropping in with Sanguinary Guard, dropping in with normal assault troopers. Your Death Company's doing their Forlorn Hope, and then jumping and trying to close that gap, because 12 plus 4 plus another 12 plus another 4 is 32 inches. There's only 24 inches of space between most no man's lands between deployments. So I feel like encroaching on that space a good 8 inches or so, and not even counting to charge, 2d6 charge, which is a 7, you're talking, what, 40 inches? Did I do my math right there? That's just bananas numbers. Not even 2d6, 3d6, because you're going to reroll for Lamarte's being on the table, or you're going to get your 3d6 for Lamarte's being on the table. You can, of course, reroll for those other troops coming in. I mean, there's just so many options here. It's very cool to see Games Workshop come out with a dedicated assault army so quickly after what could be a dedicated shooty army in the Tyranids, a dedicated anti-psyker army in the Tyranids, a dedicated assault army in the Tyranids. And we're just talking about the assault aspect here. There are also some other builds, maybe not as competitive, that we're seeing right now, but the play and the rules themselves seem to be leading everybody down this path. So I think that's why we should talk about that the most right there. You might not see Tactics on the table, you might not see Primaris on the table as much, but I definitely think Scouts are going to have some play here at 11 points each, and obviously Death Company, Assault Troops, and all the other units we talked about. But never count out a Leviathan Dreadnought, a Fire Raptor, even a Storm Raven perhaps, even a Redemptor Dreadnought is good for these guys here. So I've certainly rambled on long enough. Thank you for listening. Hopefully this one video has told you everything you needed to know about the newest changes. If there's something we didn't touch on, please leave it in the comments. Oh, Frag Cannon actually went up points, but it's still pretty good. 2d6 shots, auto hits. It's good. It probably needed that change. There's a little spammy. But yeah, if there's anything you think we didn't cover, folks should know about, please leave it in the comments below, because this is a lot of information I was to take in, and a lot of folks have had these rules, and of course, you know, played a lot of games with them. We're just spitballing here, using our hobby muscles, so to speak, to try to figure out what we'll see on the tabletop and what models I got to go dig out of the closet now or paint up perhaps. So that's it for this one, folks. If you like these type of features, please subscribe to that channel right there, and click the notifications button so you can be the very first to like and comment on all these posts. And head on over to longwar.net. That's the home of the 8th edition battle reports for exclusive content, early access videos, and soon some Blood Angel battle reports. Become a veteran of the Long War today.
Deleted scenes, bonus content, and all the interviews and post-game wrap-up videos can be located in the Hall of Veterans on thelongwar.net. Visit thelongwar.net today and try a week completely free with no strings attached. That's not all. TheLongWar.net is also your hobby resource for exclusive early access with an ad-free experience to all your favorite videos. Members of the Hall of Veterans gain early exclusive access to multiple hobby videos.